Good morning. I'm on the beach, everybody. It's amazing. I was just complaining I haven't been anywhere this summer, but that's a lie. I've been here the whole time. Welcome to our book buzz, the PRH Morning Book Buzz. We're so thrilled that you've joined us. Good morning. We're reminding you, but you already know, I hope, there's a hashtag PRH Morning Buzz, so please use it. We have some fun interaction opportunities today, so we hope you really use that hashtag because we want to test your smarts, as you'll see. We know we're talking to some of the smartest people in the world, of course, but we're going to test your knowledge today. I'm Jen Rubin, and I think we can just go ahead and introduce ourselves in case you've forgotten who we are.
I'm Chelsea Good. And I'm Elizabeth Fabian. Morning, everyone.
Chelsea's just lying on a white sand beach, right?
Yeah. And not as fun of a background, I'm sorry.
But you can change that in the blink of an eye, as I'll demonstrate. Right. And just another reminder, our key, we want to make sure that everybody knows what all the different formats that we're sharing today. So HC is hardcover, TR is trade paperback, LP is large print, ebook. I can't say it with a straight face. We all know what an ebook is. E in an orange circle means an e-galley is available. We want you to get an early read on some of these great titles that we're talking about. And DN is audio download, and CD is compact disc. And we thought we would kick it off with some virtual events. We're always so thrilled to see the amazing things that are happening in the virtual world. Thank goodness, right? That we can all connect. We can all find ways to celebrate books wherever we are, from the beach to your living room. So Stats is a very cool new game you're going to be learning a little more about. But Benjamin Dreyer, Random House's very own Benjamin Dreyer, has created a game version of his hit book, and it's called Stats, and it's a lot of fun. So you can see some great minds at work playing the game tonight, right? Today's the 12th, at 8 o'clock. We also have, as you can see on the screen, lots of other exciting events happening. I mean, who doesn't miss the New York Public Library right now? I know I do. Those amazing lions that are actually wearing giant masks. Have you guys seen that image of the lions? They put big, I was trying to grab my mask, but it got caught. They put giant masks on top of the lions. Oh my gosh, my doorbell's ringing. This has never happened before. Live TV. So anyway, there's a Fiona Davis event. There's an anti-racist teach-in, which I highly recommend, with the amazing Ibram X. Kendi and Isabel Wilkerson on 8/16. And someone else takes us away. I'll be right back.
And I think that Kelly, I think if you go to the next slide, we can talk about what's next. Okay, so Jen Rubin gave you a little hint of what we're going to talk about with STET. And I just wanted to say that I know a lot of you, as me, have spent the past few months rediscovering the simple joys in life. And of course, that's reading, but it's also baking, and it's doing puzzles and gardening. And I think a lot of us have also rediscovered the joy of board games and card games. And so if you are a grammar geek like me, I think you're going to be really excited. As Jen mentioned, Ben Dreyer is one of my favorite people in our building and in our company. He makes grammar and writing fun and witty.
So funny.
And if you don't follow his Twitter, he's very witty on his Twitter feed as well. And it's also informative. And so you can have even more fun with grammar with this game. It's a card game for all these language lovers, and there are 100 sentences waiting for you or us, the copy editors, to correct them or stop them. And I think that Jen may be testing Chelsea and my knowledge of grammar up.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So I think that we will see if we live up. I don't know.
I think it's time for the pop quiz. Can you believe I wasn't actually at the beach? That's like when you pretend to be on the phone and then it rings and you're like, I was at the beach and then my doorbell rang. Pop quiz, guys. It's a new version. It's a version for brainiacs because, you know, those other questions we were asking weeks ago were way too easy. Like, what are you cooking? So now we're getting down to business, okay? And I have to admit, I have this really obnoxious sign on my desk that I've never been able to bring to work because people think I'm such a jerk. I got this as a joke from my husband who thinks I'm a grammar snob. And it's on my desk at home. It says, I'll be nicer if you'll be smarter. Which was like, I can never show this to anybody. But now I'm showing it to everybody because I do think it's funny. But I promise I'll be nice in this pop quiz. So,
okay, fingers crossed.
We want you to play at home. So get ready with your PRH Morning Buzz hashtags. Pop quiz step number 1. Our next door neighbors, the Numbskulls, annoyed us by staging revivals of Broadway flops in their backyard. I think I'm a member of this family. So does anybody want to take a guess at how they would change or not change set this grammatically?
I do love commas, so I think I'm going to take a stab at it. I think that it's our next door neighbors, comma, the Numbskulls, comma, annoyed us by staging revivals of Broadway flops in their backyard.
Let's see. Reveal the answer. This is just like English class, right? You always had a tambourine. Yes, I believe that is correct. So are the Numbskulls your only next door neighbors? Oh. Unfortunately for you, if you live next door to me in this apartment building, maybe so. You should surround their name with commas. More than one set of next door neighbors, lose the comma altogether. So you can see the examples on your screen. Our next door neighbors, comma, the Numbskulls annoyed us by staging revivals of Broadway flops in their backyard. Or no commas, which Elizabeth would just hate. I'm with you. I do love a comma.
I love the comma.
Well, very good. I'm very impressed. Now I will be very nice because you guys are And now I think it's time to get into, wait, I had a virtual background for this. Is this going to be a time killer? Let's see. You're going to wish they never added this feature. Love is in the air.
No, that's nice.
Oh, that's perfect. So let's get to it.
Okay. So something that I love even more than a well-placed comma is love. So here we go. We're going to highlight some of the most heartwarming reads around this morning. So I'm really excited to tell you about all of them, and they're all a little bit different. I'm going to start with Sophie Kinsella. I have loved Sophie Kinsella since way back when she began with Confessions of a Shopaholic. I love that book. I've read it over and over. It still stands up. It's so much better than the movie. If you haven't read the book, highly, highly recommend. But her stories always make me laugh. They always leave me feeling warm and fuzzy. And now she's back with Love Your Life, another standalone novel. And this one's about Ava. And Ava is old-fashioned. And she says, call me romantic, but I think love should be found in the real world, not on a dating app. She believes in feelings and not algorithms. So after a breakup and a total disaster on a dating app, she decides she's going to swear off love. She's going to a writer's retreat in Italy. I'd like to be there.
Me too.
But when she gets there, she's not allowed to share her real name or anything real about her life, no personal information, and she goes by Aria. And then there's a neighboring martial arts retreat that kind of is canceled, and some of the people there come to the writer's retreat, and she meets Dutch, also not his real name. He sounds too good to be true. They embark on this like whirlwind, baggage-free romance, but then they have to go back to London with their real identities, Ava and Matt, and they realize they may not be compatible at anything. This is great. It mixes the sparkling Mediterranean landscape and Kinsella's always lovable characters and her charm, and it's just a winning combination. And next is a novel from Minnie Dark, the librarian turned author of Star-Crossed, and it's a story that will be definitely for fans of The Light We Lost, The Rosie Project, The Kiss Quotient, and Bridget Jones's Diary. Because behind every great love song, really, there is a great love story. This is a little sad, though. So Diana is getting ready to marry her longtime fiancé, Ari, and she's a classical concert pianist, so of course she's composing him a beautiful love song. But before she can finish it, tragedy strikes and she's lost to Ari forever. But her song might not be. Ari remains in Australia struggling to cope, but in Scotland, Evie is taking stock in her life. She's wandered the globe for years, trying and failing to get her poetry published, and that has taken its toll. But as Diana's song is passed from musician to musician, winding its way around the world, it may bring these two lost souls together. It's heart-wrenching, but amazing, and it explores what it means to be lost, what it means to be found, and the power of music to bring people together. And then I'm giddy to tell you about Romantically Challenged. It can probably be best described as 3 Men and a Baby meets 27 dresses. So growing up Asian in a community of waspy neighbors, Annie has always felt left out. And her solution to this is she wants to start a family of her own, but it's really, really hard because every man she dates and then breaks up with, including her ex-fiance, finds their right person, the one, right after breaking up with her. So she has a new plan. She's going to be man-free. She's going for a fresh start. But her exit strategy lands her in a hospital, working at a hospital in Rome, Rhode Island, instead of Rome, Italy.
I got excited for Italy when I saw that title.
Me too. But the town is full of eccentric residents, nosy neighbors, and then she has this infuriatingly sexy bunkmate who makes her question this anti-romance diet. Emmett is an investigative photojournalist, and he's embarking on the most important assignment of his life, cementing his place in his daughter's life. 3 Men and a Baby might work in the movies, but with a stepdad and a devoted uncle competing for her attention, Emmett is losing his place at the table. But Annie and Emmett are about to discover that love comes in all forms, and sometimes the best families are the ones we make.
Did you hear they might remake 3 Men and a Baby?
I did not. Oh, I loved that movie. I really loved that.
I just heard. Nothing to do with books. But
I sing my children "Good Night, Sweetheart" because of that movie. So. But now on to Nick Hornby. Next is Just Like You, and this is classic Nick Hornby rom-com, warm and funny and well-paced and filled with characters you're destined to fall in love with. And our main character here is Lucy. She used to handle her romantic life like a script. She met a guy just like herself, same age, same background, same hopes and dreams. They got married and started a family, but he made her miserable. So 2 decades later, she's nearly divorced. She's 41. She's a school teacher and has 2 school-age sons. There's no script anymore. So she meets Joseph, and she's definitely more in the market for a babysitter than for romance. He's 22, living at home with his mother, doing many, many jobs. It's not a match anyone would have predicted. He's a different class, a different culture, a different generation. But sometimes it turns out that the person who makes you happiest is the one you least expect. And then next we have How to Fail at Flirting. This is a debut of Own Voices romance with a strong female lead for readers of Jasmine Guillory and Jen DeLuca. When Professor Nia Turner's department lands on the university chopping block, her friends convince her to shed her cardigan for an evening on the town. And for once, this type A overachiever will tackle a new kind of to-do list. She meets a charming stranger in town for business, and he presents the opportunity to check things off that list. Let the guy buy her a drink. Check. Try something new. Check. No strings attached. Hookup. Check. Well, almost. He makes her laugh and challenges her, and soon she is flirting with the chance of a more serious relationship with him, except that nothing is really that easy, is it? The complicated strings around her dating him might destroy her career, so she has 2 options. She can protect her professional reputation and go back to the life she's always had, or she can flirt with the unknown and stay with the person who makes her feel like she's finally living again. And lastly, in the romance world, we have Crazy Stupid Bromance, a new romantic comedy about decoding the friend zone from the author of Undercover Bromance. Alexis and her cat cafe, Toe Beans, shot to fame when she came forward as a victim of a celebrity chef's sexual harassment. When a new customer comes to confide in her, the last thing she expects is for the woman to claim that they're sisters. She doesn't know what to do, and so she turns to the only man she can trust, her best friend, Noah Logan. He's a computer genius who in his teenage years was kind of a hacker, but he's put that all in the past. Now he's a security expert. But he does use his old skills from time to time for the right cause. And he has a secret. He is madly in love with Alexis. So when she asks for help, he wonders if it's the right time to tell her how he feels. And his pals in the Bromance Book Club are more than willing to share their manuals on how to help him go from buddy to boyfriend. But he must decide if revealing the truth is worth losing the best friend he ever had. I love love.
At first, when you said the only man she could trust, I thought it was going to be her cat. Like, well, that's a different book series. There are book series like that. And just to add, in the Love is in the Air, I want to play that song, but that would probably be a copyright issue, so we'll go with the background. For Just Like You by Nick Hornby, I always love these audiobooks. I love being whisked away. We have amazing British actors of stage and screen behind the mic for these audiobooks. This time, Ben Bailey Smith and Hattie Ladbury read this audiobook. This is very cool. Ben Bailey Smith is an actor and writer and has an alter ego, Doc Brown, who's a stand-up comedian, rapper, and writer. So a ton of talent packed into this audiobook. And then Hattie Ladbury is a British actress of stage and screen, including West End theater productions. So it will be a brilliant audiobook for sure. And then this is great. If you haven't discovered yet the bromance series, so to speak, Crazy Stupid Bromance will be read by Andrew Iden, who's read the previous two in the series, both of which have won Audiophile Earphones Awards, which is amazing. They said that his gruff voice adds humorous realism and that it's a real treat. And it really is an entertaining twist on contemporary romance, which we certainly all need at any time, but especially right now. And then just to add, Mini Dark, we will be dropping in an audio, so stay tuned for that as well, because we were also big fans of Star-Crossed. And she's actually a big audiobook listener herself, Mini Dark. She likes to knit while she listens to audiobooks. So that's what we have for Romance Awareness Month.
Okay, and now from love to new voices. These books
I better change my background. This is not a match anymore.
I was going to say these books are not necessarily as light and airy as the ones Elizabeth just shared, but we're very excited to tell you about these must-read debuts so you can discover them first. First, we have The Push, a tense, page-turning psychological drama about the making and breaking of a family, and a woman whose experience of motherhood is nothing at all what she hoped for and everything she feared. Blythe Connor is determined that she will be the warm, comforting mother to her new baby Violet that she herself never had. But in the thick of motherhood's exhausting early days, Blythe becomes convinced that something is very wrong with her daughter. Or is it all in her head? The more Blythe's husband dismisses her fears, the more Blythe begins to question her own sanity. The Push is a tour de force you will read in a sitting, an utterly immersive novel that will challenge everything you think you know about motherhood, about what we owe our children, and what it feels like when women are not believed. Next we have No Heaven for Good Boys by Keisha Bush. Set in Senegal, this modern-day Oliver Twist is a meditation on the power of love and the strength that can emerge when we have no other choice but to survive. When 6-year-old Ibrahima is sent to the capital city of Dakar to join his cousin in studying the Quran for a year, the time of learning his parents had imagined is replaced instead with the young boys being forced to beg in the streets in order to line their teachers' pockets. To make back home, Ibrahim and his cousin must help each other survive both the dangers posed by their teacher and the darker sides of Dakar. Drawn from real incidents and transporting readers between rural and urban Senegal, No Heaven for Good Boys is a tale of hope, resilience, and the affirming power of love. And our next debut is The Mermaid from Jeju. Inspired by the true events on Korea's Jeju Island in 1948, Sumi Han's debut novel explores what it means to truly love despite all odds. In the aftermath of World War II, Junja is a girl just coming into her own, a deep-sea diver in a family of strong female divers. But when Junja's mother dies during a dive she was taking in Junja's place, her younger siblings are sent to live with their estranged father, and Junja and her grandmother are left alone. At the same time, the perils of post-World War II overtake her homeland, and Junja must learn to navigate a tumultuous world unlike anything she's ever known. The Mermaid from Jeju is a magical saga that is perfect for readers of Night Tiger and Pachinko. Next we have Nights When Nothing Happened by Simon Han. From the outside, the Changs seem like model immigrants. Patty landed a tech job near Dallas. She and her husband had a second child, Annabelle, and sent for their first, who was living with his grandparents back in China. But then little Animal begins to sleepwalk at night, putting into motion a string of misunderstandings that not only threaten to set their community against them, but force to the surface the secrets that have made them fear one another. Nights When Nothing Happened is a gripping storytelling immersed in the cross currents that have reshaped the American landscape from a prodigious new literary talent. And next we have Una Cita con la Lady by Mateo Garcia Elizondo, a stunning literary debut which tells the story of a young heroin addict who embarks on a piercing, hypnotic journey to the end of the night. A young man leaves the sprawling metropolis behind and finds refuge in a room in a village forgotten by God on the edge of the jungle. Surrounded by copious reserves of opium and heroin, the protagonist carries a notebook in which he has decided to chronicle the last moments of his life. At a tiny hovel with a reputation for sheltering drunkards, troublemakers, and prostitutes, and in a country that seems to be inhabited only by lost souls, the gaps in the protagonist's memory are multiplying, the drugs are running out, and death is slow to meet him. Or has it already arrived and she just wasn't as he imagined? And literary talent really runs in the family. The author is the grandson of Gabriel Garcia Marquez and Elizondo Alcalde.
Wow.
Yeah, big shoes to fill. But and then finally we have Detransition Baby by Tori Peters, a whip-smart debut about three women, transgender and cisgender, whose lives collide after an unexpected pregnancy forces them to confront their deepest desires around gender, motherhood, and sex. Reese almost had it all: a loving relationship with Amy, an apartment in New York City, and a job she didn't totally hate. Then her girlfriend Amy detransitioned and became Ames, and everything fell apart. But when Ames' boss and lover Katrina reveals that she is pregnant with his baby, Ames wonders if this is the chance he's been waiting for. Could he, Katrina, and Amy form some kind of unconventional family and raise the baby together? Tori Peters brilliantly and fearlessly navigates the most dangerous taboos around gender, sex, and relationships, gifting us a thrillingly original, witty, and deeply moving novel.
It's like an update on the movie we were just
I was going to say, it's not quite presented a baby.
No, but your modern take. A lot of these are a little far out from much audiobook news, but I will just say that No Heaven for Good Boys is going to be read by Samba Shoot, who is a Dutch Mauritanian actor. He's a comedian and a writer. He was born in the Sahara Desert and grew up in Ethiopia until the age of 18. And he was one of the stars of Sunnyside with Cal Penn, which was on TV last year. So again, I always love hearing the backstories of some of the interesting voices and all the different backgrounds that everyone comes from that they bring to the mic when they read these great stories. But that's all we have for now. But stay tuned for more audio news as we get closer to pub.
And speaking of debuts, we're very excited to share with you our fall 2020 debut fiction sampler, featuring excerpts from some of the hottest new voices in fiction, including The Push, No Heaven for Good Boys, Mermaid from Jeju, Nights When Nothing Happened, and many, many more. And you can visit the link on your screen to dip into these debuts that are sure to drive your hold lists.
Can't believe fall is so soon. Oh. Better put that beach background on really fast before it changes itself.
And now we wanted to share some great biographies and memoirs coming this fall. There's really an amazing swath. So we'll start with Abe. It's a revelatory new biography of Abraham Lincoln from David S. Reynolds, who's one of the great historians of the 19th century America, and the author of the Bancroft Prize-winning cultural biography of Walt Whitman. So he understands all of the currents in which Abraham Lincoln swam, as well as anyone alive does. And this masterful work is the product of full-body immersion into the riotous tumult of American life in the decades before the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln did not come out of nowhere, but if he was shaped by his times, he also managed at his life's fateful hour to shape them to an extent few could have foreseen. Abe has already received starred reviews from Kirkus and this starred review from PW. Magisterial and authoritative, Reynolds provides a portrait rich in texture and context, not only of Lincoln, but of the America he inhabited and helped redefine. The result is a must-read addition to the canon of Lincoln biographies. Next is a book for readers who know that truth is more thrilling than fiction, a book for fans of John le Carré and Eric Larson, and for readers of A Woman of No Importance, D-Day Girls, and Madame Fourcade's Secret War. This is Agent Sonia. Here, the New York Times bestselling author of The Spy and the Traitor tells the thrilling true story of the most important female spy in history, an agent codenamed Sonia, who set the stage for the Civil War. So it's 1942 in a quiet village in the leafy Cotswolds of England, and a thin, elegant woman lives in a small cottage with her 3 children and husband. Her name is Ursula Burton, and she was friendly but reserved, spoke English with a slight foreign accent, but by all accounts seemed to be living a simple and unassuming life. What her neighbors didn't know was that she was a high-ranking Soviet intelligence officer. And they also didn't know that her husband was a spy or that she was running powerful agents across Europe. Behind this facade of her picturesque life, Burton was a dedicated communist, a Soviet colonel, a veteran agent, and gathering scientific secrets that would enable the Soviet Union to build the bomb. Over the course of her career, she was hunted by the Chinese, the Japanese, the Nazis, MI5, MI6, and the FBI, and she evaded them all. And this book is with unparalleled access to her diaries and her correspondence, and never before seen information about her clandestine activities. Ben McIntyre has conjured a page-turning history of this legendary secret agent, a woman who influenced the course of the Cold War and helped plunge the world into a decades-long standoff between nuclear superpowers. That's a powerful woman indeed. And then another powerful woman is Kamala Harris, and this is her memoir, The Truths We Hold. For years, Harris has been one of America's most inspiring political leaders, and with yesterday's news, she becomes the first woman of color on a major party ticket. The Truths We Hold is a book about the core truths that unite us, the long struggle to discern what those truths are and how best to act upon them, and both in her own life and across the life of our country. Senator Harris's commitment to speaking the truth was informed by her upbringing. She's the daughter of immigrants. She was raised in Oakland, California, in a community that cared deeply about social justice. And her parents, an esteemed economist from Jamaica and an admired cancer researcher from India, met as activists in the civil rights movement when they were graduate students at Berkeley. So growing up, Harris herself never hid her passion for justice. And when she became a prosecutor out of law school, a deputy district attorney, she quickly established herself as one of the most innovative change agents in American law enforcement. By reckoning with the big challenges we face together and drawing on her hard-won wisdom and the insight from her career and the works of those who have influenced her most, Harris offers The Truths We Hold, a masterclass in problem solving, in crisis management, and in leadership in challenging times. And though this isn't available as an e-galley right now, it is available on the Volumes app if you're set up as a reviewer. If you're not set up yet, you can email us and we'll get that started for you so you can
No, don't
read. Another amazing, powerful agent of change, and I'm very proud to tell you about this next book, His Truth is Marching On. This is from Pulitzer Prize-winning author John Meacham. It's an intimate, inspiring portrait of the civil rights icon and longtime U.S. Congressman John Lewis. It links his life to the quest for justice in America from the 1950s to today. It draws on decades of wide-ranging interviews with Lewis and deep research into the history of the civil rights movement. And Meacham writes how this great-grandson of a slave and the son of an Alabama tenant farmer was inspired by the Bible to teach his teachings in nonviolence, and inspired by Reverend James Lawson and Martin Luther King Jr. A believer in hope above all else, Lewis learned from a young age that nonviolence was not only a tactic, but a philosophy, a biblical imperative, and a transforming reality. And I love this next story. At the age of 4, Lewis was ambitious to become a minister and practice preaching with his family chickens. And when his mother cooked one of the chickens, he refused to eat it. His first act, he wryly recalled, of nonviolent protest. Integral to Lewis's commitment to bettering the nation was his faith in humanity and in God, and an unshakable belief in the power of hope. And Meacham calls Lewis as important to the founding of a modern and multi-ethnic 20th and 21st century America as Thomas Jefferson and James Madison and Samuel Adams were to the initial creation of the nation-state in the 18th century. He did what he did, risking limb and life to bear witness for the powerless in the face of the powerful, not in spite of America, but but because of America, and not in spite of religion, but because of religion. An important book. And next is JFK. This is because of Robert Caro's Years of Lyndon Johnson and Edmund Morris's The Theodore Roosevelt Trilogy. In JFK, Pulitzer Prize-winning historian Frederick Logevall takes us up close as we've ever been to the real JFK in this revelatory biography of the still iconic but kind of elusive 35th president. By the time of his assassination in 1963, John F. Kennedy stood at the helm of the greatest power the world had ever seen, a booming American nation that had steered through some of the most perilous diplomatic standoffs of the Cold War. And while there are many portrayals of his charisma and his affairs and disagreements over political legacy, they've come and gone since his untimely death. These accounts fail to capture the full person. And beckoned by this gap in our historical knowledge, Logevall has spent much of the last decade looking for the real JFK. The result of this prodigious effort is a sweeping 2-volume biography that contextualizes Kennedy amidst the roiling American century. And this is the first of those 2 volumes. It spans the first 39 years from his birth through his run for president and reveals his early relationships, his formative experiences during World War II, which we've been talking about at the dinner table, about his heroic rescue and his swimming prowess, and his ideas and writing and political aspirations. And as author George Packer states, our best known historian of the Vietnam War now turns to another subject you thought you already knew. He makes John F. Kennedy as alive and as compelling as if you were reading about him for the very first time. And finally, is a book for readers of Heartbeat, A Wounded Knee and Empire of the Summer Moon, Tecumseh and the Prophet. Until the Americans killed Tecumseh in 1813, he and his brother, Tenskwatawa, were the co-architects of the broadest Indian Confederation in United States history. In previous accounts of Tecumseh's life, Tenskwatawa has been dismissed as a talentless charlatan and a drunk, but award-winning historian Peter Cousins now shows that while Tecumseh was a brilliant diplomat and war leader, it was Tenskwatawa who is called the Shawnee Prophet, and he was the one who created the vital doctrine of religious and cultural revitalization that united the disparate tribes of the Old Northwest. With detailed research of Native American society and customs, this provides a window into a world often erased from history books and reveals how both men, perhaps the 2 most significant siblings in Native American history, came to power in different but no less important ways.
And just to add on, well, first we're getting the question, of course, how do I download the Volumes app and get reviewer access if you're a librarian or an educator? We do have a Google Doc available that can help you sign up. You have to download the Volumes app first, create an account, and then, but there are instructions all there for you. So we will make sure we send that around in the recap for this episode so you don't miss out. But to kick it off with Abe in audio news, this will be read by Leon Nixon, who is an actor, playwright, and filmmaker. Fun fact, he's part of the group that appears in the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest continuous improv show at 150 hours. That is long. I used to be in an improv group, and I cannot imagine. But this is a 25-hour audiobook approximately, so I feel like that stamina is very important. So, and also he's a very talented narrator, but love those fun facts. I actually have, do you guys remember there was that Hatch show print? When we went to PLA, there was that famous kind of Nashville store where you could get quotes and things like that were created. So I got the Abe Lincoln quote, "Whatever you are, be a good one," that I have hanging in my apartment now, which makes me think both about what the quote means, but also PLA, which was the last time we were all together in that forum. Not to make this sad, but anyway, that makes me think of Abe. Agent Sonia sounds so incredible, and the audiobook will be read by the author, who I think after the amount of research and blood, sweat, and tears that go into creating this narrative after all that research is really incredible to hear it from him himself. He also read Rogue Heroes, which Library Journal called a startling account and an excellent reading. So this will also be phenomenal hearing from Ben himself. Kamala Harris does read her own audiobook, of course, The Truths We Hold. She also reads her picture book, which is available, Superheroes Are Everywhere, which is wonderful for young kids. And there is also a youngification of The Truths We Hold for young readers. It's been adapted for young readers, and that's read by the fabulous Robin Miles. So there are 3 amazing audio and book opportunities to hear from Kamala which was, I think, will be in high demand, especially now. And then John Meacham. So I'm thrilled to announce that His Truth is Marching On is read by J.D. Jackson on audio, who was, of course, nominated for Male Narrator of the Year at the Audies this year for the Nickel Boys, and was an audiophile Golden Voice Hall of Fame recipient. He was recently inducted into that, so he is phenomenal. And JFK will be read by Mark Deakins, who just reads such a wide range of things, but also presidential titles. He, fun fact, read Promises to Keep, which was Joe Biden's 2008 audiobook, which we also might be hearing more of soon. And then finally, I feel like I'm going to mispronounce this. How do you say it again, Elizabeth?
I believe it's Tecumseh.
Tecumseh and the Prophet is read by Mark Bramhall, who is also someone who can read anything. He does the Jeff Shara audiobooks. He can do history and children's books, and he's wonderful. So lots in all formats to appreciate from these historical and one day to be historical figures. Better put my professorial blazer back on. Are you guys ready? I think I'm the only person who has not made sourdough starter during this quarantine.
No, I have
Anyone
not
else?
We attempted and we forgot one feeding and it was over.
And it was all over?
It's all over.
Well, maybe you have to take this question then. Are you ready? Getting a little too into character here. Whose sourdough starter escaped and ate all the patio brickwork? So, what do we think about this grammar situation? Any corrections to be made?
Well, whose should definitely be WHOSE rather than apostrophe S.
I have chalk here too, which is apostrophes. They get in everywhere. So whose equals who is, which I always find it helpful to just say that out loud I always read things out loud when I'm doing grammar myself in my house or at my cubicle. It's less annoying to everyone now that I'm by myself in my apartment to read everything out loud.
I do the same thing.
So correct. Very good, Chelsea. A+. Whose sourdough starter escaped and ate all the patio brickwork? It might have been yours, right?
Probably.
Well, this is really fun. I think that we're speaking to the exact audience that all needs to go out and get STET and get this game and play yourselves in quarantine or with family and friends. And it's just a really, really fun. And I love, too, that Benjamin Jar is so funny in addition to being, so smart and great at grammar. So it's like really, refreshing to have that kind of humorous take on something that I think back when we were kids might have gotten an eye roll, and now it can be really a fun way to remind ourselves about good, proper writing.
There's no one I trust more, and I usually email him to ask him questions, but I don't think I can do that anymore. I think he's too busy.
I don't know. You should tell him we played his game live on the air, and then he'll be appreciative. All right. Dun, dun, dun. Who done it?
I'm so impressed with your prop skills, Jen.
At least it makes me laugh. I think I should stop laughing so much at myself and let other people decide if it's actually funny.
So first up for mysteries and thrillers, we have the Thursday Murder Club. In a peaceful retirement village, 4 unlikely friends meet weekly in the Jigsaw Room to discuss unsolved crimes. Together, they call themselves the Thursday Murder Club. When a local developer is found dead with a mysterious photograph left next to the body, Thursday Murder Club suddenly finds themselves in the middle of their first live case. And as the bodies begin to pile up, can our unorthodox but brilliant gang catch the killer before it's too late? This is perfect for readers of Alexander McCall Smith and Alan Bradley, fans of the TV show Grace and Frankie, and wannabe detectives everywhere. Next we have Stephen Spotwood's Fortune Favors the Dead, a wildly charming and fast-paced mystery written with all the panache of the hard-boiled classics that introduces Pentecost and Parker, an audacious new detective duo for the ages. It's 1947, and Will Parker and Lillian Pentecost are on the Collins case. Abigail Collins was found bludgeoned to death, her body found in the same chair where her steel magnate husband shot himself the year before. With rumors flying that Abigail was killed by the vengeful spirit of her husband, her family has tasked the detectives with finding answers where the police have failed. And Alan Bradley says a fortune favors the dead. Bullets, blood, bodies, and belly laughs. All the ingredients of a classic mystery novel. Stephen Spotswood hard boils with the best of them. And next, our next heft is based on historic events and frighteningly relevant to today's headlines. Night in Tehran is a taut thriller about one American diplomat's year of living dangerously in Tehran in the days leading up to the Iranian Revolution. In the style of Alan Furst, this suspenseful thriller places an idealistic American diplomat in Tehran in the days leading up to the Iranian Revolution. Backed by the CIA and trailed by a beautiful and engaging French journalist he suspects is a spy, David Weissman's mission is to ease the Shah of Iran out of power and find the best alternative between the military, religious extremists, and the political ruling class, many of whom are simultaneously trying to kill him. And Alan Furst says of the book, this taut and fast-paced novel has a particularly compelling feature. Philip Kaplan, after a career in the State Department, brings to his book a sharp political and international sophistication, rare in thrillers, but abundant in Night in Tehran. Next, we have A House at the Bottom of the Lake by Josh Malerman, the New York Times bestselling author of Bird Box and Mallory. The story begins, young lovers find a house at the bottom of the lake. It's cold and dark, but it's also their own. Yet how to explain the furnishings, the upkeep, the icy sense of something living there still, and the suction sounds. Now the teens must decide, swim deeper into the house, all the while falling deeper into love, or return to the surface, to safety, to sanity. Whatever they do, they will never be able to turn their backs on what they discovered together and what they learned. Just because the house is empty doesn't mean nobody's home.
Ooh.
You have chills. A House at the Bottom of the Lake is a haunting tale of love and horror. Next up is If I Disappear by Eliza Jane Brazier. When her favorite true crime podcast host goes missing, an adrift young woman named Sarah sets out to investigate and plunges headfirst into a wild backcountry of Northern California and her own dangerous obsession. Sarah follows the clues hidden in the episodes to an isolated ranch outside the podcast host's small hometown to begin her search. But the more Sarah digs into this unfamiliar world, the more off things start to feel. Because the podcast host is not the first woman to vanish from the ranch, and she won't be the last. If I Disappear is perfect for readers of devious, female-driven suspense, like Luckiest Girl Alive, Killing Eve, and My Sister the Serial Killer, and fans of true crime like Serial and Mindhunter. And then finally, we have The Searcher by Tana French, a spellbinding, propulsive new novel from the best-selling mystery writer. Cal Hooper thought a fixer-upper in this bucolic Irish village would be the perfect escape. After 25 years in the Chicago police force and a bruising divorce, he just wants to build a new life in a pretty spot with a good pub where nothing much happens. But when a local kid whose brother has gone missing arm twists him into investigating, Cal uncovers layers of darkness beneath his picturesque retreat and starts to realize that even small towns shelter dangerous secrets. Tana French weaves a masterful, atmospheric tale of suspense, asking what we sacrifice in our search for truth and justice and what we risk if we don't.
Dun, 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 dun. And
some of these are too scary for me.
Oh, they're all too scary for me. Sorry, I'm looking more closely. The Thursday Murder Club, I mean, just a comp. When I hear comp to Alan Bradley, I mean, that audio series is phenomenal and so beloved, and I think there really is something fun about kind of being along for the ride with someone who's solving a mystery, and you can especially take on that role when you're listening to the audiobook. You can't skip ahead quite as easily. So I think mystery and thriller fans will definitely want to try that format if you haven't already. So the Thursday Murder Club is read by Leslie Manville, who is a multi-award-winning actress from theater and film. You might know her from a lot of Mike Leigh movies like Topsy-Turvy, Secrets and Lies, or recently she was in Phantom Thread as well. So that's a fun fact. And then again, a little too soon for audio news for some of these, but The Searcher will be read by Roger Clark, who, again, I had some fun finding fun facts about these narrators because I love hearing how people find their way into this career. And he began working in audiobooks as a child, cutting out newspaper clippings for the local newspaper for the blind. And now he's narrated over 100 audiobooks and, of course, works in theater, film, voiceover, and performance capture, which includes like video games. But that should be a really fun listen. I always remember, too, there was a study years ago that like monitored people's heart rates as they listened to audiobooks and also watched movies, and that people's hearts raced a little bit more from listening even than they did when they were watching a scary movie. So if you really want to get your heart racing, try the audio of these mysteries. And then just to kind of wrap it up with our typical, let's relate some of these amazing categories to some kids' books that you can listen to with either the whole family or to recommend to young patrons who are looking to try audiobooks or who are already big audiobook fans. So with Love is in the Air, these are two very timely picks, and not your traditional romance in any sense of the word, but really speak to the time that I think teens are dealing with right now. So Together Apart comes out October 20th. It is an anthology of YA contemporary love stories set during life in lockdown, and they're written by some of today's most popular YA authors. And this is wonderful to hear too. Delacorte Press, who's publishing the hardcover version, in support of the publication, they're making a donation to Active Minds, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to mental health education, research, and advocacy for young adults, which is wonderful and so important, especially right now. And also good for mental health. Hopefully we'll be listening to love stories. So these are romantic, realistic, sweet, and uplifting, which I think we need. So it's a collection of finding love in unexpected places during an unprecedented time, and each with the one thing that we all want, Elizabeth, a happy ending. Yay! So we're very excited for this. And then in another kind of related timeliness, but very different, a cloud of outrageous blue, which is on sale August 25th. Not a typical love story, but timely as well because it's for fans of Fever 1793. It's the story of a young woman paving her own path and falling in love during the Great Plague of 1348. And this is from the award-winning creator of What the Night Sings. So it's a journey of self-discovery and love in the most uncertain times. And this is also very cool from the audio angle. It includes 6 songs throughout the recording because Vesper Stamper, the author, is also a musician herself and an artist. She also did the cover art for the book. But she's a musician, and she wanted to bring a little something extra to the recording to amplify certain moments. So you can also hear her songs, which is incredible. Then when it comes to debut fiction, 2 really exciting picks. It's hard to choose because I feel like there's so many amazing voices coming out, especially in the fall. But we selected When Life Gives You Mangoes, which is on sale September 15th, read by the phenomenal Najami Kamara, who was the lead voice in Jackie Woodson's Harbor Me and has been on a lot of incredible recordings lately. But this is for fans of deeply poignant middle grade, and this is about friendship and loss. And it's a story of a young girl who can't remember anything from her previous summer after a hurricane. And Lynn Kelly, who's the author of our Odyssey award-winning, our Odyssey Honor award-winning book, Song for a Whale, she says that this is heartwarming yet suspenseful, and it's about the strength of family, the turmoil of friendships lost and found, and most importantly, remembering who you are. And the author, Corinne Getton, she grew up in Jamaica, where she would climb fruit trees in her family garden and eat as much mango as she could without being caught. And now she lives in Birmingham. So we can't wait to hear from her. And then Everybody Looking. You don't even have to take this for me. This is on sale September 22nd. This has been praised already by Jackie Woodson, who says that Ilo's beautifully crafted narrative about family, belonging, sexuality, and telling our deepest truths in order to be whole is at once immensely readable and ultimately healing. So that's from Jackie Woodson. And then Nick Stone calls this an essential and emotionally gripping and masterfully written and compulsively readable addition to the coming-of-age canon. And if that's not enough for you, Jason Reynolds has to say that this is a story about the sometimes toxic and heavy expectations set on the backs of first-generation children and the pressures woven into the family dynamic culturally and socially. And it's ultimately about a liberation that taunts every young person. So I certainly can't wait to hear this. The narrator is yet to be announced, but the author weaves the key moments of her protagonist, Ada's young life, her mother's descent into addiction, her father's attempts to create a home for his American daughter, more like the one he knew in Nigeria, and her first year at a historically Black college, into a luminous and inspiring verse novel. And I think also hearing a verse novel on audio is also a really wonderful way to take it in. So we're really excited for those two debuts. And then when it comes to history and biographies, these are two really special ones as well. I've talked before about Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls, and this is the newest one in that series. It's on sale October 13th. This is 100 all new bedtime stories for girls and boys, very important, but it's about the lives of incredible female figures from the past and present. And this volume recognizes women who left their birth countries for a multitude of reasons, some for new opportunities, some out of necessity. So you will hear from stories as varied as Madeleine Albright to Rihanna. And I think this will just be a wonderful addition to every audio collection, and we're excited to announce the narrator soon. And what's also great about this is the audiobook includes a PDF of 2 written exercises, both write your story and draw your portrait. So that's a really wonderful thing to add, and a good activity, I think, for right now, while we're, I think, having a little more introspection going on at home, perhaps. And then we're thrilled to have a new audiobook from Kenneth C. Davis, who is, of course, the best-selling author of Don't Know Much About, that whole series of books, and many other amazing historical books and audiobooks, and he's also a huge advocate for audio. And this is a new dramatic account of the origins of democracy, the history of authoritarianism. Oh my gosh. And the reigns of 5 of history's deadliest dictators. Sorry, adding some levity to this description because it's timely in another kind of frightening way. But Kirkus just gave it a starred review and said, history's warnings reverberate in this gripping read about 5 dictatorial strongmen. And it's a pitch-perfect balance of nuanced reflection and dire warning. And I think is something that all collections should have in their history collections, especially for young people. And then finally, some mystery and thriller, both read by a full cast. I picked 2 that are read by a full cast because I think that could add an extra chilling audio experience. So Harrow Lake is on sale August 25th, read by Kristen DiMercurio, Alex McKenna, and Jason Culp. And this is about the daughter of a horror film director who's not afraid of anything until she gets to Harrow Lake. So here are the things she knows about Harrow Lake. 1, it's where my father shot his most disturbing slasher film. And 2, there's something not right about this town. So she's, she thinks nothing can scare her, but then she spends some time where this film was shot, and suddenly that might not be true. And then finally for me, Fright Night is on sale September 1. Also, I think these will be great to remind patrons about closer to Halloween. But this is from the author of Escape Room, which we talked about many episodes ago, but I think is great for young horror fans. And this is read by 4 narrators. So I think, again, getting into each of the heads of, the different characters who are scared for their lives in different ways and really hearing the different perspectives is a really fun way to experience a horror novel on audio. And then we asked you last week, what were your favorite dog books for the dog days of summer? Which I think we learned recently, or we talked about, actually has nothing to do with dogs, but it's reference to the fact that the sun occupies the same region of the sky as Sirius, the brightest star visible from any part of the Earth, and part of the constellation Canis Major, which is the greater dog. Did we talk about that last week, or did I just look this up? But I think of Peter Heller's The Dog Stars now when I hear this. But these are some of the picks that you told us were your favorite dog books and audiobooks. Did you guys see yours make the list? Are these some that you've shared yet with your families or listened to?
I haven't yet, but I had sort of forgotten about Because of Winn-Dixie, so
cannot forget about Katie Camillus. I'm glad that we could remind everyone. And the audiobook is read by Cherry Jones, which talk about theater talent and an amazing actress. So that's a great one. But yeah, so many good ones on here, and I just love looking at the covers for so many of these. And And also, that's full disclosure, that was my dog Daisy, who used to let me put headphones on her, and she was like my audiobook model. She was a very cooperative model. But thank you guys for sharing your Dog Days of Summer picks. And so this is very exciting. We wanted to give you, we're so grateful for all of you joining us. We know that, your days have maybe changed a little bit and your schedules are not the same as they maybe were a few months ago, but we so appreciate you taking the time on Wednesday mornings with us. So we wanted to give you a preview of what's coming up so you can mark your calendars now and hopefully join us. So next week, our Morning Book Buzz is very special. It's a celebration of African American voices, and it features the poet Kevin Young. So this is on August 19th at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This time next week, be there. We're so thrilled to have a celebration and with all of you there as well, we hope. And then the week after that, August 26th, we're doing a special audiobook buzz. So you bring the coffee and we'll bring the audiobooks. And we're going to bring 2 award-winning audiobook producers, my friends Dan and Karen from PRH Audio. So Dan Zitt and Karen Jakonski will be joining me in Sydney, and we're going to talk about all things audio, from how audiobooks are working at this time to some of the newest listens that you absolutely do not want to miss, and you'll get to hear the behind the mic perspective of how they've come together right now, which I think is really fascinating. So 2 really unique and special book buzzes that we hope you'll sign up for and won't miss. So thank you for watching. We're so thrilled. PRH Morning Buzz is the hashtag. We love hearing from you. Any final additions for the buzz today that you want to share?
Not on the book, but just kind of piggybacking off of your last slide. We know that people's schedules are changing, so I think in our wrap-up we're going to include a question about if a different timing works for you now that things are, people are back in their libraries or in their offices, and so please look out for that and give us your feedback. We love all feedback about the books. We love feedback about the program, so please do share. And thanks for joining us always. It's been great fun for us.
It is. Although I'm back at the beach already. I'm ready.
Check out.
Not every time. But thanks for joining us, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.